Let's get some more analysis now from Bill Kristol. Congressman Keith Ellison, welcome back to both of you, along with David Plouffe, former senior advisor to President Obama, Carly Fiorina, former chair of Hewlett-Packard, former candidate for Senate in California. And Bill, let me begin with you. You were up at the RNC meeting with Chairman Priebus as well. Agree with his assessment?
Yeah, actually, they were high morale, and I think they were high morale because, you know what, whatever you think of the details, whether they should be deciding who moderates debates 2 years ahead of time, they're fighting. They're not rolling over the way some of the establishment guys in Washington would like them to, and the way the liberal media would like them to, like a little dog that, you know, rolls over to get its tummy patted by the media, and that everyone feels good. And they're fighting back, and I think it is a sign of a more spirited Republican Party, as are the debates internally. They were in a good mood, and I think they're right to be in a good mood. Fighting
back against the White House, fighting back against Democrats, David Plouffe, but also fighting with each other.
Yeah, I mean, Chairman Priebus just talked about all the field organizers he's hiring. By the way, 160 people in this big country is not very much. They don't have a product to sell. So you can hire 10,000 people to win the presidency in 2016, 2020. These are facts, not opinions. They have to grow their vote amongst the Hispanic community, suburban women, younger voters, the growing Asian community, which states like Virginia is so important. The president won by historic margins. They're not rehabilitating. They're retrenching after the election loss. And so I don't see any evidence that in terms of their appeal, what are they going to say to those voters? And on an issue like immigration, it's not just the Latino community, it's younger voters too. And we have advantages with the Latino community on issues like healthcare, on the economy, on education. But until immigration reform gets done, the Republican Party is not going to be heard. So yeah, they're fighting amongst themselves, and I don't actually think that's a bad thing. I think I actually agree, that's a good thing to have. The problem is, after November, largely people said the Republican Party has to rehabilitate a little bit to address some of these demographic challenges. They're not rehabilitating. They're doubling down.
One of the big ones, Carly, is women. I guess Mitt Romney won married women by about 11 points, but lost single women by almost 46 points. How do you turn that around?
Well, I think first we have to turn it around by having reasonable discussions around the things that are labeled extreme. Let me just give you a very simple example. First of all, not everyone in the Republican Party is pro-life. I happen to be pro-life, but there are many pro-choice Republicans. But example, when Governor Perry pushed forward legislation in Texas to ban abortion after 20 weeks, it was labeled as an extreme move. That's 5 months. 5 months. There are only 4 countries in the world that legalize abortion after 5 months. China, North Korea, Canada, and the U.S. It's actually not a particularly extreme position to say a woman needs to have a choice up to 5 months. And then there really has to be a medical reason. But it got cast as a very extreme point. I would be willing to wager that there are many, many single women who are pro-choice who say, you know what? 5 months sounds reasonable to me. So I think part of the Republican Party's challenge is to not fall into the trap of having issues cast the way our political opponents want them cast, and be willing and courageous enough to actually have the debate on our terms.
We're also seeing a strain in the Republican Party that, you know, may find out places where you agree, for example, with Rand Paul on issues of foreign policy, cutting off aid to Egypt, but that creates real divisions inside the Republican Party.
Well, I agree. I mean, at the end of the day, the Republican Party has to talk about how they're going to solve problems for Americans. What's going on with jobs? I voted to not repeal Obamacare 40 times, but they haven't put forth any kind of plan for how they're going to make sure we got affordable, accessible care for every American. I mean, at the end of the day, they've got to have a program that Americans can say, that's going to help me and my family, and that's not what they're doing. They're talking about process and technology and stuff, but at the end of the day, you got to stand for something, and they stand for obstruction.
And Bill, this gets to some of the big showdowns we're going to see this fall between the White House and Republicans in the Congress. The congressman brings up Obamacare. You have this faction in the Republican Party saying we don't fund the government unless Obamacare is defunded. It seems pretty clear the leaders in the Congress don't want that. And you've been advocating, I believe, a slightly different approach, saying don't defund Obamacare, delay it.
Right. Just one thing on Keith. I mean, Chris Christie is a governor of a blue state. I believe he's been an effective governor. Scott Walker is a governor of Wisconsin. He's going to get reelected. He's been an effective governor. There are plenty of other Republican governors who are doing a good job. The one place they actually have a chance to govern, they're governing pretty well. I would even dare say they're governing better than President Obama. I don't want to shock you. David's falling off his chair.
Congress. Let me invite you to
Well, they don't
House.
govern. Maybe you're not aware of that. They don't have both branches. They don't have both branches. Thank God they have the House. Thank God they have the House. They can stop you guys. They can stop you guys from even worse.
They have failed to pass. They've let a farm bill
passed the
fail.
budget.
They've failed on numerous
And the Senate
fronts.
Democrats have done so much. The Senate Democrats have really stepped up.
It's clear.
I disagree. Okay.
And you should call them and help them out.
Let's go back to jobs for a moment. Let's go back to jobs.
Just to answer your precise question in 10 seconds. I think there's a middle ground between saying we got to defund the whole thing overnight or we're going to shut down the government and doing nothing. And I think there is a really good substantive case for delaying things like the individual mandate in the exchanges. And I think Republicans need to make that case. And a lot of Democrats and a lot of Democratic governors are very nervous about these
Any
exchanges.
chance the president accepts that?
And at some point, there needs to be some honesty here. I think part of what's going, you see this with the debate thing. It's completely foolish for a party that wants to reach out to say we're going to now only debate essentially on Fox. It's going to skew that whole process.
Maybe ABC will host it.
Okay.
Let's come back for 1 second.
Why are you afraid of debates?
I'm not afraid of
Because what's going to be
debates. I'm
said
sitting
on
right
those
here.
stages to secure the Republican nomination is going to
one's
cause
afraid
huge
of
problem
debates.
in the general election.
No
It
one's
happened
afraid
with
of
Mitt
debate.
Romney. It will happen in 2016. Governor Christie, this is probably a kiss of death for him, for me to say this, he would potentially be a very strong general election candidate. In the current Republican Party that's going to show up to decide the nomination in 2016, someone like him can't win, in my opinion.
All right, let's go back. No, I do not.
Paul
I do
Ryan?
not agree with that. But let me go back to David's point. We don't have a product to sell.
I hope Paul Ryan
Let me
wins.
talk
You'll
about
lose
young
again.
people for a moment and jobs. So, unemployment among youth is at historic highs in inner cities as well as people coming out of college, and there is nothing that is appealing to a young person about the solution to every problem being a large, bloated bureaucracy that cannot be held accountable and whose budget continues to rise year after year.
That's-
The Democrats have
That's so
a
incorrect.
single product, which is let us centralize decision making, let us create a government program to solve a problem. And what we're seeing, whether it's the IRS or whether it's the debate about national security, is we cannot hold these bureaucracies accountable. We do not know what they're doing, and the programs are ineffective. And we're
Young
seeing that
people
with the
do not
rollout of
care.
Obamacare
Young
as
people
well.
don't care about they care about a job.
That's
they
right.
care
They
about
don't
getting
have one
a job.
right now.
Because,
They don't have
and
one.
the Republican majority in the House has obstructed at every single turn.
Oh, it's so
They have
easy
not-
to blame the
they have-
Republicans.
Look,
The
I'm there
Democrats are
every
in
day.
charge, but the
I'm there every
Democrats
day.
are in charge of the national government.
And we have not. And you know what? Under Obama, the jobs picture has been brightening. Not enough, but not with any Republican help. And I might want to point this out to you with pure obstruction from the Republicans. But I might point out to you that building our nation's infrastructure, which would help jobs, is actually a good thing. It's something the president has proposed. Democrats have supported. Republicans
Is
need
Obamacare- wait,
Republicans need roads.
Stimulus didn't work.
Okay, let Bill Kristol in here and then Dave Plouffe.
But they oppose it.
Is the implementation of Obamacare helping create jobs or hurting job creation?
in
Just
Minnesota-
an empirical
in
question.
Minnesota,
You think there will be more jobs if
Yes, I
Obamacare
do.
were delayed for a year? You don't think that would help job creation with small businesses?
I think that it would help jobs if we get 30 million more people access to health care. It would help those people. It would improve their
We'll have
family
a
budgets.
test.
We certainly will. And I'm telling you, in states that have embraced it, we are doing fine. Let me tell you, in Minnesota, we're very proud of the exchanges. There's no way we would delay it because the uninsured are looking
But the
forward
president
to
did.
being.
Why did the president delay the employer mandate across the nation for a year?
Because the employer,
it's working so great. It would help jobs.
Because
Why would he delay it?
Big problems need big solutions, which need flexibility.
Yes, so delay the individual mandate too.
That's not the problem. The problem is that there are
Those exchanges are all going to be set up perfectly?
Well, we'll see whether young people
Minnesota will
sign
be-
up,
Well,
which is the test of whether it works.
This is the question. I want to bring that to David Plouffe. This is all coming up on a lot of deadlines hitting on October 1st. The government funding runs out, but also you begin to sign up people for the exchanges. It is true that if people don't sign up, this is not going to work.
Young people in particular.
I'd say that I find it ironic, the criticism of the president and our party generally is we never listen to business, we dictate. Now we're listening to business, give them a little flexibility. It's the worst thing in the world. It doesn't make any sense. I think the Republican Party, by the way, is going to pay a big price in 3 or 4 years down the road because what they've said about Obamacare is not going to come to pass. It's not going to kill the economy. People are going to have more choice. Costs are going to go down in many respects. They're going to have access to preventive care. I think they've sort of set themselves up with a very dangerous trapdoor here.
Yep.
But I think that if you let's look at immigration in terms of jobs. Right now, immigration reform has been analyzed, create a lot of jobs.
I agree with
bring
that.
down the deficit.
I agree with that.
It's the one thing Washington
I agree
can do
with that.
right
Let's
now.
go
Right.
do it.
Okay, but you're not going
Let's
to.
go
Well,
do
I know
it.
Bill doesn't. But I think aside from the politics, it's the right thing to do for our economy. And it's something could right now. By the way, all you need is what? 20 House Republicans, probably 25, and you could pass it tomorrow.
But this is a debate for Carly Fiorina and Bill Kristol because it's two wings of the Republican Party. You believe it's good for the economy. You believe that it's better politics and better policy for Republicans now to deep six immigration reform this year.
To deep six, the actual bill that was passed by the Senate, absolutely. That's a big government bill that will damage, I believe, lower working class and middle class Americans. And I'm not for it. I think you can be for all kinds of immigration reform without being for this 1,300-page Senate bill.
You know, the issue always is, how does something get done, okay? I think there is widespread agreement in the American public and in the Republican Party that we need immigration reform. I also think there is an opportunity, as you said, we need to make things better. Well, let's make this bill better. Let's do the things that we need to do to make it work. But I want to go back to David's point about health care for a moment. Because if anyone oversold Obamacare, it was President Obama. He laid out a set of goals, a set of promises about what this bill would do, and not a single one of them is coming true. In fact, just the opposite is happening. People's insurance premiums are going up. They can't actually keep their insurance plan. It actually is hurting small business. There's a set of proof points now that are causing the American public to say, you know what, this program isn't quite what I thought
David,
it was going to be.
20 seconds to respond. We got to take a break.
That's just not true. I mean, in states that are setting up the exchanges, rates are coming in lower than expected. You've got millions of kids out there now with health care. You've got people paying less for prescription drugs. You've got women getting preventive care. And next year, you're going to have people can no longer be denied shorts based on pre-existing conditions. These are fundamental changes that are good for the country, good for the economy.
Big showdown coming this fall. Thank you all. Stand by. We have one more roundtable coming up.